in Revit, right? So, right, so I think let's start with the session. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, okay. So, yes, good afternoon, everyone. So, my name is Prakriti Goyal, and I'm working in Capricorn as BIM Specialist Architecture. So, yes, I'll be taking the today's webinar, that is automatic submission drawings with Revit. So, how, like, why we are going for Revit, like, what is the submission drawing? So, how to develop those accurately in Revit, we will discuss that. So, this is all about today. Like construction documents are actually very much important, like GFC drawings and the permit drawings, right? So how to develop those from the BIM model of like higher quality. So we will be discussing that. Right. So first of all, let's I'll introduce Capricorn first. So as our motto says, so we actually help unleash the ideas for better future, right? So like we are since 1987 and 20,000 plus Indian customers are there, right? So we actually provide different consultations as well as like uh, softwares, as well as like uh, we are from in Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, right? Now let's discuss about the first what all programs we have. So right, so we actually have the BIM for design course. Whatever we will be discussing today, we will be having a discussion like detailed sessions in BIM for design course. So it is actually a 125 like 120 plus hours course, approx 3 months, in which we actually provide detailed discussion on Revit, Navisworks. So we actually help others to implement BIM in their project, right? So these are actually discussed in detail, right? So now if you want to inquire, like if you want to actually discuss about the training perspective, so you can just connect to the email ID, right? So now let's start with the session. So first of all, what all submission drawings actually are, right? So any building construction cannot commence without any permissions, right? So we have to provide permit drawings, right? So for getting a building permit, some set of drawings actually is submitted to the authority, right? These are your permit drawings. Now what all information are actually included in those permit drawings? So first of all, floor plans, your like details, elevations, sections, right? Your space calculation. So space calculation is actually very much important, like how much built up area you have used, how much FAR, like permissible FAR is what, and how much achieved you have, right? So parking calculations. So again, these calculations are actually important in those permit drawings, right? So to sum up, these drawings have to be more like have to be more accurate and have to be more like compliance with the building regulations, right? So now if I compare it with the traditional workflow, right? So first of all, conceptual design, like first of all, if you go for the traditional workflow, like developing the uh like let's say from AutoCAD to like if you are going for the conceptual design. So you are actually lacking 3D visualization, which is actually, if I talk about BIM workflow, you are developing the concept from different areas, right? So you are developing concept from Revit and then going for the uh, design development, right? So presentation drawings, whenever there's any changes, you have to always rework in the traditional workflow. So that actually minimizes, right? as well as detailed drawings. So this is actually main important, like when you are developing your design, you have to provide GFC related drawings. So again, if you have any, like if you have any changes, so rework has to be done in the traditional workflow. So but in BIM workflow, those you actually generate are actually accurate. And as well as if you have any changes in those BIM, like any drawing, it will be reflected everywhere, right? Now schedules and quantities. So again, dependency, like on other softwares, involve a dedicated engineer to perform these tasks. Now if you go for the BIM workflow, you can actually generate these quantifications very accurately and like automatic these are. So if you have any changes, the rework will be like you don't have to go for rework, right? Now this is the traditional workflow, like how you calculate calculation. So one major aspect for the permit drawings is the calculation. So this is the traditional workflow, how you actually go for calculation. Like if you go for, like in AutoCAD, you provide hatches and then calculate that area, right? So this is the what we call as like area calculations, right? So this is just traditional workflow. But if I talk about how these challenges are overcome through BIM, so from BIM, like you are actually generating a central model, and from that, every documentation you are actually getting. So you are getting the lighting plans, reflected ceiling plans, your architectural presentation drawings, your GFCs, your um, right. So your quantifications also, right? Now, why we are going for Revit, like why we are going for BRIM? Because whenever you are changing any information in maybe like 3D or maybe in elevation, it will be reflected everywhere. So your change management, like the changes, the cost of changes will actually reduce, and the documentation that you will get is actually of high quality, right? So now if I talk about submission drawings, how you can develop it, you can just see over here. This is the submission drawing detail, which has been generated from the Revit. That is Noida residence, right? So you can check like how you can create different uh, area plans. Like if I talk about for submission drawings, area plans are actually required, right? So right. So now the calculations, right? So how to provide those calculations, how to provide those area diagrams. So you all know, like we can generate GFC, like working drawings, as well as sections and elevations, everything will be done. But the main thing is, the main task over here is how to develop area plans as well as how to develop the calculations, right? So let's start with the area schemes and area plans. So there are multiple standards uh, according to the countries, right? So in some places, the area schemes followed by net area, usable area, right? Rentable area, gross area. But in our system, in our standards, what we use actually, so first of all, the carpet area, built up area, super built up area, and then FAR, right? So as we all know, like what all the carpet areas, so all the areas, living room, except the thickness of the inner wall. So how we can get the carpet areas, and so all these are actually basic area schemes that you all have used in your project. Now how we can calculate the areas accurately while working in BIM model, right? So let's discuss that first in Revit, right? So now for today's session, I'll be taking the sample project, that is Noida residence, right? So we will be discussing about this full project. Now how to provide different areas, like how to provide different area plans, how to generate those area plans, we will be discussing that, right? So if you have any questions, you can just provide that in the question and answer box, and we'll respond to that, right? So, right. So let's start with the how to develop the area plans first. So this is actually divided in sections. So first of all, we'll discuss about the creation of area plans, like how we can generate different type of areas and how we can use them to provide calculations, right? So after that, we'll discuss how to compose the commission drawing related sheets. So now if you see over here, we have all the plans. We have developed this full model, right? Full BIM model. This is actually BIM model. So we have all the working drawings. Now we just need some area diagrams, area plans, right? So now how to provide those? So if I go for architecture tab, room and area panel, you can see over here, architecture tab, room and area panel. We can, like, first you can see over here, area and volume computation. That means, first of all, you have to develop the area schemes, like what method, like what areas you are actually calculating. Are you calculating built up areas? Are you calculating FAR? Are you calculating any like maybe gross area, net usable area? So what type of area calculations you are providing, you have to mention it first before before creating any area plans. So first of all, if you see over here, it is mentioning gross building and rentable. That means, because Revit is actually based upon the foreign software, so foreign standard of area schemes are actually developed over here. So gross building, as we all know, like total construction, total constructed area of the building, like which includes the external, like uh, in India we can say super built up area, right? It is equivalent to that, right? But rentable has, like, if I say the floor area, built up area, with without any open areas, like without any shafts, without any lift shafts, stairwells, right? So all these informations are actually excluded from the built up area. So rentable and gross building are actually by default are there in your template. So whichever template you are developing, if you are developing your own company template, so you can actually create multiple schemes that you use in your regular projects, right? So you can develop that. So if you see over here, first of all, we have gross building and rentable. So if I want to create a new area scheme, that is built up area, so what I can do, I can just go for new and just see over here. So it is telling me if you want to create rentable area scheme and gross area scheme. Now, there are certain rules and regulations Autodesk has developed, right? So if I talk about foreign standards, right? So how, like, according to foreign standards, according to foreign countries, like how the gross area is actually calculated, right? So I, like, if I say in our, like, super built up area, like it needs to include the wall thickness, like external walls are actually included, right? So if I talk about in this, like in foreign standards, the center line, the wall center line will be calculated, like the external wall center line will be marked as the gross areas, right? So from, like, wall center line will be the marking scheme for the gross area. So these are actually following those particular rules. But if we are developing the Indian standard projects, right, so we have to go for rentable, because we actually, like if we are doing developing any super built up area, or maybe like super built up area, you have to go for gross area scheme. That means full constructed building. But if you are developing, if you are calculating only floor area, or maybe we can say floor area ratio, right, built up area, so you have to go for rentable area, right? So if I click on that, first you have to mention what is the name of the scheme that you are providing, what is the name of the area calculation that you are providing. That is, let's say, built up area. right? And then you can provide the description so that whenever, if you are developing a template, if you can just like provide the description, others can actually understand like where we can use the area scheme, right? So if we say like include floor area minus, right? So this is kind of like we can say one scheme we have created, right? Now, first of all, we have created a scheme, but right now, what type of area plans you want, we have to mention that. So what I'll do, I'll click on OK, and then we'll go to room and area panel and area plans. Now the next thing is, once you have provided what type of calculation you will be doing, you just need some area diagrams. So like without the area calculation, like without the area diagrams, you cannot actually uh, calculate the area. Like you cannot actually mention it like from where the area is getting calculated. So area diagrams are actually more like equally important, right? So if I go for room and area panel, area plans, right? So you can see over here type is written. That means you have to choose what type of area scheme you want. So because we are developed building like built up area, so we will be choosing that scheme, and then we will be choosing the floor like levels, like the plans, what type, like what plans we want for the area calculation. So we need still floor, we need second floor, first floor, upper ground floor, mumpty, and right. So that's it. And now click on OK. So you can see over here, it is saying automatically create area boundary lines associated with all external walls. So because this is actually related to your foreign standards, so it is automatically taking that rules, right? If I say external walls, so uh, right now, because we have to mention it, if we are talking about built up area, so what is the shaft area, what is the lift area, what is the floor area, so we have to mention it, right? That is why we'll not go for the automatic boundary lines. But if you have a super built up area, then you can just provide that, right? So because we have separate areas like floor area, store area, building circulation area, right? We have separate areas. So this is not appropriate for that reason. But if you are going for super built up area, you can just go for automatic creation, right? But do remember, this actually follows the Autodesk the Autodesk rules as well as the foreign standards. So the the boundaries will come at the center of the walls, so not the exterior facade of the walls. So do remember of that. So what I'll do with this note, right? So once this is done, you can check. If I go to floor plans, like over here in views, in project browser view tab, you can see over here at the bottom, we have area plans and the scheme name in the brackets, right? So if you open this, we will get the floor plans that like for which we need to calculate the area, right? So now what I'll do, I'll just go for stilt, right? So now if you check over here, so this is the still floor plan. So if I want to create like calculate the floor area, right? So first of all, it is just like if you some of you people are using Revit, so you might have provided rooms, right? So you have to first define the space and then calculate the area. That means to calculate certain spaces, certain areas, right? Carpet area or maybe built up area, floor area, you have to mark the enclosed space. Then only your area will be calculated. So for that, you have to mark with the boundary, right? So if I go for architecture tab, room and area panel, you'll just see over here, area boundary will get activated once you develop the area plans. Okay? So let's click on area boundary. And then because this is the because this is the built up area, right? So everything will be calculated. And you can see over here, the shafts are actually coming from the, because it doesn't have the basement. So this, like, your shafts is actually starting from the upper level, right? So everything will be calculated in the first still floor. But for upper ground, for first floor, all the shafts will be deducted, right? So what I'll do, I'll just go for draw panel and then create the area boundaries. But some of them will be open areas, so like open to sky, right? So we have to deduct that also, right? Right. So you can see over here, wherever we need the spaces, like the area calculation, wherever we need the area calculation, you can just anytime, like provide the spaces, right? So now what I have done, I have provided the area boundary. Now it's time to create the areas, like calculate the areas. So if I talk about in Revit, like we have rooms, right? So room is actually 3D element, like for providing presentation drawings, for provide, right? So now if I talk about areas, areas are actually specific to your area plans only. So you can create presentation area diagrams also, like some what all areas are actually included in the, like what all areas represents the open areas, vertical like shaft areas, right? So you can actually divide through color schemes, different colors, right? Different, create a different presentation drawings for related to areas, right? Now if I provide areas, so if I go to room and area panel, areas, now we just need to provide the area, and now you can see it is providing 300 square meter full floor area. So how we can mention it as a floor area? Now before placing the areas, observe, just observe over here. This is the property palette in which you can actually check what is the area coming over here, right? What is the level as well as area type. Now, if I talk about rentable area, so your wall thickness will be included, right? Your wall thickness will be included. It is not the carpet area, it is the full floor area, right? So you can actually segregate. In rentable area, if I talk about for rentable area, in terms of like foreign standards, in rentable area, everything is actually included except your openings, except your shafts and all, right? So extreme, like your like thickness of the interior walls also included. It is like if you are creating carpet area, you can just go for the room calculation, right? Now just see over here in area type, we have different segregations. So sometimes you calculate only circulation area. Sometimes you create only, like calculate only if you have the like any office building. So office area, or maybe like what is the store area, right? So you are calculating the areas according to what is your requirement, right? So right now, if I talk about this stilt, so still flow, so we are calculating the floor area, built up area. So we need floor areas, right? So over here, I'll choose the area type as floor area, right? Now you can see we have provided the areas. Now again, like the tagging is also not clearly mentioned, right? This is actually annotative family. So you can actually adjust the text size as well as the spacing of the tags. So let's do this also. So let's go for edit family. And I can just shift the room name, and this is the area. So these are the labels where you can actually provide like what all information you want to provide uh, in the tags, right? Area tags, right? So let's load this into the project, right? And now let's name this as still floor area, right? So I can just change the naming also. Right? So this is my first like still flow. Now some of the information will be like deducted, right? Some of the information will be deducted. Now if I say like what all information, that is your open areas, right? So this is the still parking which is half covered. So as you can see, right, this one is the open to sky, so this will be also deducted. So what I'll do, if you want to calculate open areas as well, open areas as well as your floor areas, right? So how to provide that? So for that, I'll just divide, create another line, create another area boundary over here, and let's check how it reflects the area which is projected over here, right? So what I'll do, I'll go for area boundaries and create the and place the lines over here, area boundary. Right? And now just see over here, once I created the division, once I provided the extra boundary lines, your area has been projected as 184.5 meters square. So now what is happening over here? That means this part is actually created as the area. That means whatever division you want to provide, like whatever, like how you divide your plan, according to that, your area will be calculated automatically. You don't have to do it like any rework over here, right? I hope my voice is audible, right? Kindly like check it once again. I hope.
Yes, voice
Okay.
is clear.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, now just see over here, if I want to calculate the area like open to sky, like open areas, right? So as you can see, this is fully open area. Now how to provide those? So if I go to again area placing, just see over here in area type, these are the fixed information. So we cannot add any information over here because this is actually developed by the like Autodesk rules. These are actually following the Autodesk rules, right? So if I want to provide any other type, so we have to go for parameter creation. Like if I talk about for Indian standards, we actually go for open areas, not major vertical penetration. So over here you can see major vertical penetration is actually written, which means shaft, right? But if I talk about for like shaft and open areas, it is mentioned. But if I talk about in Indian standards, we actually separate the shafts as well as open areas, right? So that is why if we want to add some extra information, we have to go for additional parameters, right? So because this is the open area, so what I'll do, I'll just change the major vertical penetration and then place the tag over here, right? Place the area over here. Now let's name this as open area, which will be deducted from the built up area, right? So now we have created the area diagram, but the presentation is not yet done. So because we have different areas, we have to create a presentation area diagram so that we can place them in a sheet, right? So for that, what we'll do, we will be going for color scheme first, color scheme in the property palette. over here, graphics, color scheme, none. And then because we are developing the area plans, built up area, like built up area scheme, we have to select that. Scheme 1 over here is written by default, and you can check two area two area types are actually there, floor area and major vertical penetration. So you can see like this will how your plans will be colored, right? So let's name this as area. We can say BUA scheme. Click on OK. And then we can provide the different color representations. So click on apply and then OK. So you can see how we have provided the color schemes. Now, like we need legend because we have provided the presentation, right? The color scheme, but like with the legends, it will be completed as the area diagram, right? So let's go for annotate tab, color fill panel, and then we'll provide the color scheme legend, right? So this is how you actually develop the area plans according to the calculation. So if I talk about upper ground, so all those shafts and staircase, in this case, lifts and all will be deducted, right? So yes. Now, if I talk about maybe like maybe we can say the lift shafts and stairwells and all the shafts you have here will be deducted, right? So let's go for area boundaries. So if you like balconies, like if you are calculating the FAR, so like according to the building rules, like if your balconies are actually like more than 1.5 meter wide, so maybe 2 meter wide, so those will be calculated in FAR. So this is actually all depending upon the building calculations, so your building bylaws. So right, and then we have to omit those areas as well where we have shafts. So I'm like selecting thin, I'm actually used thin lines off so that you can actually see like where we are providing the boundaries. But prefer for you guys, it is preferred to work on thin lines so that you won't have any like issues with the like, because if the area boundaries is changed, then your area also will be affected, right? So let's provide it. So why I'm not going for like, you can see over here we can go for pick lines, right? But by default it is taking the wall center lines because it is actually depending upon the foreign standards, right? How the area has been calculated for the foreign countries, right? So but we need the wall external lines. That is why I'm going for the this portion. So so I'm excluding the whichever part you want to exclude or segregate. So you have to provide the area boundaries to calculate the area separately, right? right? So now what I'll do, I'll just go for area, place the areas, and now this time I'll provide the floor area, right? So floor area I'll provide over here. This will be upper ground floor. And now wherever you need the areas for the shafts, so you can provide that also. So major vertical penetration only you will have to use, because they have actually provided the like for open areas as well as for maybe like for shafts, for open areas, everything is actually under vertical penetration, right? So, right. And now you can provide the color scheme, right? Like, like this. Let's go for legend. So now you can see we have developed this kind of information, right? So, right. So once this is done, now it's time to develop the calculations, like built up calculations. So if if I open my current project, you'll see how we have developed the area diagrams. So you can actually go for creating view templates, right? So if I go for over here, so in area plans, we actually generally don't require the model elements, right? So the walls, the columns, right? We just need the area boundaries, right? As you can see, the boundary, the line work will only be used, not the stairs will not be seen in the area diagram. So this is actually for the diagram purpose, right? So we have to hide everything. Now, how to hide, how to provide, like how to go with the area diagram creation. So first of all, you have to go for BG. BG is for the visibility graphics. Now, right now we only require tags as well as the line work, right? Every element, every model element has to be deleted, like to be hidden, right? So what I'll do, I'll select everything over here in the model category, and then I'll go for check off so that every element will be hidden, right? Hidden, not deleted, hidden, right? So their visibility will be hidden. Now, what information we need? So we need areas as well as the line work, right? So line work, click on apply and then click on OK. So you can see over here how the area plans actually been created. Now we don't need grids, elevation marks as well. So what we'll do, we will go to again like visibility graphics. Everything you will discuss, you will be discussed in detail once you go with the BIM for design course. So uh, kindly, like if you have any inquiry with for regarding the course, you can just connect to the email id connect@capricorn.com, right? So just provide the like, and if you have any inquiry, just go and email in that website, like in that id, right? So now you can see over here, we just need to check off all the grids as well as the elevations. Click on apply and then okay. So once this extra lines you can just hide, because all these lines will be your like room separator. So don't delete them, just go for the hidden elements, right? Now this is how you actually develop your area plans. So right now it is actually applied in one floor plan, but if we have a complex project, if we have high rise buildings, so how to apply the same portions in everywhere? So for that, we'll create the template, right? So what I'll do, I'll just go for view tab, graphics panel, view template, create template from the current view. So I'm creating this as an area plan, area plans, right? So once this is developed, right? right? Click on OK. Now everything is actually set. We have to just apply it and assign it to the plans. So if I go to the upper ground, so all these elements are actually visible. So what I'll do, I'll just assign it from the property palette, identity data, view template. From here, I'll just assign it. Why assign? So that I cannot like, so that no one can further change anything in that template if the area plans are fixed like this, right? Like this, right? Right. So once this is done, we need to calculate those areas. So once you have completed all the uh, area diagrams, now the next thing is to develop the built up area. So over here you can see we have created the rentable areas. So we have still floor, upper ground, as well as the first floor, second floor. So we have created all the plans that is required for the like uh, rentable areas. So how we can create the built up area, right? So let's go for the calculation point of view, right? So what I'll do, I'll just go for the because we need the schedule, area calculations, right? So according to that, what I'll do, I'll just go for view tab, create panel, and then schedules and quantities, and whichever area scheme, area calculation you want to provide. So you can just go for like that particular scheme over here. So in this this sample project, we have covered the area rentable. So built up area we have to calculate. So let's click on OK. And now what information you want to provide? So we want to provide the area name, number, area type, and area. So all these informations will be by default calculated, right? So let's name this as like, so stilt, or you can just go for levels also so that you can understand at which level the area is actually calculated. Fields, to add on the fields, that is level, right? So now we have floor areas of each and every floor, like you can see over here in the previous project that we discussed. So how we can create the schedule? So if I go to the manage tab, like view tab, create panel, schedules and quantities, built up area, what all information we need: name, number, level, area, and area type, right? Now, in some of the cases, because we are calculating built up area, so major vertical penetrations will be excluded. So we have to filter this schedule out, right? So what I'll do, I'll just go for filter and go for the area. We can just name this as like what else, like open areas, as well as the according to the naming, right? Right. So let's name this as open area and then shaft area. So I'm developing everything in schedules. I'm changing every information in schedule. It will be reflected everywhere. So, so what I'll do, I'll just filter these out with name, open area, name, and shaft. Click on OK. So you can see over here, 1 minute. Not equal to, we have to provide like this, right? So we have two floors, that is upper still floor and upper ground. Now we need to calculate these areas so that we can get the built up area, if right. So we haven't done for the like full overall floor plans. So we have only like right now we have completed with the two plans. So what I'll do, I'll just add them. So for that, I'll just go for the formatting so that we can get the total built up area we require, right? So area, calculate total, click on OK. And then first of all, we have to enable that also, like that you want to provide grand total. So sorting and grouping means you are enabling the totaling calculation, but for which field you want total, you go for the formatting. Right? So let's go for grand totals, click on OK. So right now, till this much, you can see this is the, if you have like ground floor, first floor, right? Only two building, like two-story building, right? So you have this much built up area, right? So this is actually, we can go for as this is as the like built up calculation, right? Now, in this case, if you see this is the same project, so we have completed the full plans. So if I want to provide the area calculation, so again, I'll go for formatting, calculate total, and then sorting and grouping, we'll enable the grand totals. Let's provide the heading like this. So this is the final built up area you will get, excluding the open area, excluding the vertical penetration. Built up area is this much. So now if I talk about the calculation of FAR and all the calculation, like you want the ground coverage area, you can actually generate from over here, right? Okay, now, yes. So, so over here, if I want to provide calculation for FAR, right? So how to go with that as well? So for FAR, we need site area, right? So how you can get the site area? So for that, if you go to the site plan, whichever is the site, you can just develop the area like property line. So if you have created the property line, you can anytime get the site area. So this will be used in the formula for FAR. So like according to FAR, like if I want to calculate FAR, so we will be going for the built up area by plot area, right? So the plot area will be getting, you will be getting from the plot line, the property line, right? So as you can see over here, it is giving you the area, site area, 300 square meters, right? So what I'll do, I'll use this information and provide it in the schedules. Right? So I need to calculate the built up area, like FAR area, using some formulas. So in this case, I'll create a new function parameter, that is calculative parameter. So I'll just provide over here FAR number, it will be number, and then we need to provide the formula. So because we don't have any parameter called like for the site area, so we can just go for adding the value, adding the site information, site area, 300 square meter it is, right? And then unit, meter square, right? Let's click on OK. So once this is done, click on OK. It will be like this, right? And now you can just total them out also. FAR, calculate total. So like you can see over here, it has been like this, right? So whichever form, like with whichever standards you are providing, you are actually following for the calculations, this is how you actually develop them. But for FAR calculation, we don't need the levels, we don't need, we just need the like full built up area, like total area. So what I can do, I can just hide some of the information that we actually don't require, right? So what I'll do, I'll just go for sorting and grouping so that I can just sort my information. That means These are your built up area. So area, we can go for area type, area, and itemize every instance means it is actually taking each and every instance in the schedule. But if I check off this, it will give you the total amount, right? So area type, click on OK. So you can see it is coming out as floor area. So we don't need levels. We don't need. So we can just hide them. And this can be written as built up area. And FR, right? And we don't need headings also. So you can see, right? So this type of area calculation, you can just provide them in your uh, sheets, right? So as we all know, like for submission drawings, we actually go for like working drawings. So these are the working drawings that you have. So we don't need grids, we don't need elevation. So you can actually create the template for the submission drawings as well as for the area plans, just like I have created over here with the room legend, like with the area legend, right? So now the next step is to compose those sheets in like in one compose those drawings in one sheet, right? So okay, so I'll show the FAR part again. So for that, so how I did that actually, so first of all, if you check over here the schedule, okay, so if I want to calculate the area like FAR, we have to go for calculative parameter in which we will be needing the formula, right? So over here, I just need to provide the name first and then formula over here, that is area, the one that we have in the schedule, the area by the site area. So site area we'll get from the property line, right? So site area we have 300 square meter, right? Click on OK, like this. So we have to just calculate them and then we'll get the total FAR, right? Okay, now we have to go for the composition of sheets, right? So let's go for creating of creating a new sheet and the sheet size that you want. So in this, I'll go for ETPL format. And over here, we'll just compose all the drawings that we need, right? So how we can do that? By going to, by selecting the views, right? So just like how you actually compose your sheets, just like that, like where will be the area schedules will come, right? Where will be the parking schedules will become and how it will be created. So if you check over here, this is how you get the submission drawings. So this is the final result that you will be getting. So main is the area plans, like all working drawings is actually you actually do in like in every project, but how you calculate areas with the area plans, area diagram, that is